It's time to rock and roll!
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Waffle Press Movie Podcast Interviews. I'm your host, Diego Crespo. With me today is a very special guest talking about a very special documentary. Haeyong Moon, the director of the documentary Bud Lives, about Bud Powell, who I was not very familiar with prior to this documentary. I had the opportunity to watch it about a month ago. Um, and it's a very special movie, and I'm here to talk about it with the director, who I had the pleasure of meeting about two Comic-Cons ago, um, just because we were both shooting film, and that's why everyone should shoot film, because it brings people together and you learn about things that you otherwise never would have experienced. So, hey, Young Moon, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you for inviting me to your podcast. I completely forgot that that's how we met.
Yeah, it was, it's scorching hot in the middle of July and or the end of July, and it's nice whenever you run into people who are just like people are friendly at Comic-Con for the most part. And
Mm.
yeah, I all the film you shared was the photos came out great, and they were better because of the film you shared with
Aw,
me.
aw.
So I wanted to ask about you before we get into the film. How did you get started in filmmaking? Did you wake up as a child and just decide, oh, I want to do this. I want to make movies.
Not like that. But I did love, speaking of photography, I did always love film photos. I have a photo when I was probably a year old where I'm just playing with the Kodak film roll in my hand. I think the attraction to film was very instant for me when I was young. But in terms of filmmaking and movies, definitely college is when I got into it. I was a film major, and yeah, slowly I just started loving the medium. I also worked as a projectionist, so that also helped. Ooh, there's, but sorry about that. There was a
No, that's
phone
okay.
call.
No, it didn't even come through the call. You're doing
Oh, it
good.
didn't? Okay,
No,
okay. Sorry. I looked like there was a
no,
loud voice.
it's totally
Um,
fine.
so yeah, I think when I first worked as a film projectionist and watching the movie Cinema Paradiso and just getting really falling in love with the medium of film and wanting to craft my own stories or something through the medium, that's when I knew I would continue to do it.
Wow, that's great. So as a film projectionist, though, I have to ask because I wasn't aware of that. That's awesome. That's such a rare job nowadays. Do you ever miss that? Do you have any opinion? I'm not asking for like a hot take or anything like that, but do you have any opinions about we'll call it the evolution of film projection, digital projection? Like what's this experience been like for you seeing that?
Yeah, it's a separate topic completely. I love film, as you do as well. I think film projection is something that is very special. Not many people do it now. I, I, when I get to see a film in a theater and I can tell that it is film, it adds another layer of an experience for me because I can look back and see that there's a projectionist there and they're focusing it, they're checking the sound, there's somebody there checking the quality of the presentation, which is not really happening when it's digital because the doesn't even exist now sometimes. It might be just controlled by the theater manager in the center of the concession stand or something. And they might not know if the focus is off or the sound is off, or maybe there's a little digital hit or something. Like they might not know. Whereas when it was a film projectionist, they were always looking because they were literally looking through the hole to make sure everything was still looking fine and the sound was fine. So the expectation and the duty and the responsibility that people used to have in that role added to the quality of the presentation. And I think that's a lost art, unfortunately.
Yeah, definitely. And your personal approach, having just seen this film, I can see you put a lot of care into the very specific details, the movement of the documentary,
Mm.
how you traverse the history of Bud and his perception um, as a jazz musician. Um, did you find Bud first or did you find jazz first?
No, I love the way you described my film just now. Thank you. Um, I discovered Charlie Parker Bebop first, and then I that was in college as well. And then when I first heard it, I was blown away. I didn't realize there was a music that could sound like that because I never grew up with jazz, not that type of jazz anyway. And so I started digging into, my research, went to the library, looked up Charlie Parker records or albums, and there was one, the very famous one, the quintet that Bud was on. And then I started to see more Bud Powell albums in the library, and I just started listening to it, and that was it. That was, it was instant for me.
Oh, okay. It's one of those lightning strike moments. Oh,
Hmm.
that's just great. Those don't happen every day.
Mm-mm.
Um, and so obviously very talented musician from
Hmm.
what we're still able to hear from his work.
Hmm.
Um, and not that there aren't many talented musicians, but why make a film about him? I
Hmm.
guess. I mean, when people see the film will speak for itself, but it
Yes.
is not readily available yet.
Hmm.
So I would like for people to hear why you sought to make this film.
Yeah. I think for me, it was personal. I've always loved Bud. I started listening to him in, it's been 20 plus years now that had that lightning moment. And I I just realized there's been a lot of jazz music docs. They made one about Coltrane, Miles Davis, and there's a couple about Monk. And I always wondered why there wasn't one about Bud. Um, And there was also, in May of 2020, when the whole George Floyd event happened, uh, it kind of there was a light bulb moment in my head because Bud had been a victim of police brutality, and that a lot of people have written about that could have caused the beginnings of his mental illness. And so I think that was another reason why in that May of 2020, summer of 2020, I realized, I want to do something, highlight this great artist, this somebody that I really love. And they also went through something like that in the 50s and 40s. And here we are in 2020, the situation is not that different. And so that was probably the reason why I started to look into it. But like I said, I've been a fan of Bud Powell since, my 20s. So the love was always there. When I started doing research, I realized there were a lot of people like me who always loved Bud and was so happy to see that somebody like me was making something for him. And so it became a love letter. The film is a love letter from not just me, but everybody who really loves his music, who still plays his music. And you get to learn a little bit about, this great artist.
Yeah, and when people see the film, they will have that experience as well, and I'm very excited for more people to see it. I was lucky enough to go to the premiere at the Los Feliz 3. It's a great theater,
Hmm.
great sound, great projection.
Hmm.
And speaking of projection, I remember you were like, "Oh, just give us a little minute to make sure it's all good to go." And
That's why
yeah,
because I worked as a projectionist, I respect that person's duty so much. And so anytime I get to have a screening, I always try to either, say something about the projectionist or thank the projectionist. It's one of those jobs that if everything goes right, they're not really mentioned at all. And then if something goes wrong, they're like the most scolded person. It's a really stressful job.
yeah,
So,
not hopefully not too off base, but I'm sure you've heard about the recent VistaVision revival that's kind of going on, and um, I have a lot of respect and admiration for the projectionists that are presenting that because that sounds incredibly difficult to project. I
hmm.
could not
Hmm.
even imagine. So when you
Hmm.
hear the horror stories of that going wrong, it's like, oh no,
Hmm.
It's not your fault. It sounds very difficult for one of like
Hmm.
five people on the planet who know how to do it at this point. So
Right.
maybe an exaggeration, but
No, I'm
uh,
sure you're not far off, especially VistaVision, you know.
yeah, I can't even. I
Yeah.
don't even know how to wrap my mind around that. It goes in sideways or something. Like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
maybe one day. But yeah. So I've never really spoken to you about this. I mean, we know each other now, but we haven't,
Hmm.
spent too much time together or discussed much outside of the film and your film. But I
Hmm.
myself am a filmmaker, and I'm recently speaking more about it. I feel like I haven't spoken about it as much as I should have been, and now I'm putting, my best foot forward, trying to make my first feature film.
Wow.
So I will see how that goes. So for me and for other people trying to make their first features, do
Mm.
you have any advice? This is sort of like the broad question
Mm.
everyone asks, but I do think people want to hear it,
Mm.
and I definitely
Mm.
would like to hear
Mm.
perspective. Like any advice going forward.
Mm. Yeah, I think making a film is not easy. I mean, nothing is easy, but especially a film, a feature-length film. Is yours a narrative or a documentary?
Narrative.
Narrative.
I would love
I
to do a documentary someday, though.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I hope you have a lot of support, teams around you because making a project, a feature film, I mean, it requires a lot of perseverance and endurance. You're going to face a lot of moments where you're going to doubt, oh, is this the right move? Is this the right choice? There's going to be a lot of those conversations and moments, but I think the advice that I would give is like a marathon. It's just one step at a time and you have to do your best one step at a time and then you'll realize that, oh my God, I've come this far. And that's the only advice I can truly give you because it's hard. It's a hard road. It's a hard journey. You're going to face people who are, you know there's all these personalities that can get in the way and things that don't turn out the way you want to, or maybe a shoot doesn't go right, or there's a technical something that happens that messes the idea that you had. But through it all, you just have to push through one step at a time. But when you get to the end, it's so worth it. It's so worth it. And I think if you have the passion to make something, and I really encourage you to push through because whatever it is that you're going to make is going to be a learning experience for you and it's going to be meaningful for at least somebody out there, and you can maybe you'll make another one, because that's what happened for me. Like, this is my second feature. The first one was very hard. It took me 9 years to complete. There were moments where I thought I couldn't do it. I thought, man, if only I could finish this film before I die. I mean, I was that desperate. But like I said, when I finished it and I screened it in front of my audience, the first screening, that's when really like felt that what I just said of wow, I think I want to do another one. It's like almost the 9 year of horror, it just disappeared in that instant. And that's why I did this one. And it took 4 years for this one. And so there's hope.
Oh, thank you. Those were amazing words. And
Mm,
back to Bud Lives.
mm,
Uh, like, what was the process of getting this one made? Because you get quite a few interviews in this.
mhm,
Um, what was the process of reaching out to those people to assembling all this footage? You said it took 4 years. I'm assuming it was a less stressful 4 years than the totality of 9 years prior.
mhm, mhm.
Yeah, could you talk a little bit about the process?
Yeah, definitely. I learned a lot from my first film, what not to do. Uh, for example, my first one, I didn't have a limit, and so I just started interviewing everybody I thought I wanted to interview, and I interviewed 90 plus people. That was a mistake because 90 plus people, and then some people were like 2 hour interviews. So imagine how much footage I had, right? And that's why I couldn't edit because I was overwhelmed by my footage. So when I started this film, I said, no, no, I need a limit. And I said, okay, 25 people, I'm going to stop around there. interview wise. And every interview, I had 5 questions that I would ask. And if I was going to check my clock, if it goes over 30 minutes, I was always going to try to cut it down. Stop, stop. 30 minutes. Okay, I need to have a limit. So that helped. I ended up interviewing 40 people, so I still went over. But because I still had that 5 question, the limits that I took, I really had, that helped me edit. It was a lot easier for me to go through my footage and figure out my structure. Um, Interviewing people for this one also was a lot easier than the first one. Once I got through the first few people, like in the jazz music world, they would introduce me to somebody else, and it was very easy to get to the next person. I didn't really have to introduce myself. They just said, "Oh no, this person I already talked to," so you just call them, and doors just opened up. And so this one was a lot easier in that regard.
Okay, yeah. Do you have any journalistic background at all?
Uh, Not journalistic, but no. But
Okay.
I think I was a psychology major, and I was kind of pre-law, so I like text. So I read, I know I like doing research in a text format. So I think that's what you're asking, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
because it just structurally and like what you're interested in with the interviews, or at least what ends up on screen, like it's formatted in a way that's it feels more thoughtful, like a journalist, or I guess someone in
Mm,
law or something like that.
mm,
So that's
mm,
why I
mm,
asked the 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 regimen is there on screen in a big way.
mhm. I could see that. Um, yeah, I mean, this film, the structure of it, though, I really wanted to capture the spirit of Bud and also the people, like the love that people had in a spiritual, kind of an emotional way, as opposed to just talking heads throughout. I didn't want to do a narration over it. A lot of times documentaries have voiceovers. And there was a time when I thought that I had to do it, but I couldn't do it. It wasn't my style. I wanted Bud to be felt like a living person through the film. So I really wanted to focus on the remnants that I had of his, the video, the film footage, the audio, photographs. And you get to hear him, you actually hear him coughing, breathing, humming. These are little moments where you can feel that somebody is alive, you know. So
Yeah, no, and
I didn't want to talk through it.
yeah, yeah, and again, like just mentioning like the structure, like I it's definitely his presence is felt absolutely,
Mm,
and it is like a living and breathing presence of Bud. It's just
mm,
that that format. It feels like there's a nice you're in safe hands, I guess I'll say.
mm,
Not to
mm,
stumble over my words, but like it
mm,
feels like okay, this consistently is heading a direction because
mm,
this isn't a slam on anything else. Just you can tell when someone doesn't quite have control of a project. It happens. It happens,
mm,
And this one, it felt like there
mm,
was a sense of control while you're letting
mm,
the story live and breathe.
mm,
And so I just wanted to commend you on that. As we wind down a little bit, I just wanted to ask about like, do you have any influences in terms of documentary backgrounds or film music and other music influences as well? I mean, you're clearly such a huge fan of jazz in general. Like, is there anything that really inspires you, or even personal connections that, aren't related to Bud?
mm. Um, my top 3 influences in terms of art making, Bud Powell has always been in there. Agnes Varda is another one that I'm extremely, I had the opportunity to meet her a few times.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah, a few times. And I have to share this story. So
Please, please.
when I was a projectionist at CalArt, where I did my grad school, I was a projectionist there, and she was a visiting artist, and she brought her own personal print, 35 millimeter print of Cleo from 5 to 7. So I projected that, and midway through reel 2, somebody walks into the booth, and she she's Agnes. And she puts out her hand and she said, "Hello, I'm Agnes Varda." And I literally fainted. I grabbed her hand and I felt like my entire body just melted. It was, and I just said, "Of course I know you, you know." I mean, she is very petite. I'm small too, but she's even more petite than me. And I felt like my whole body was just like melting before her.
Oh
But
wow,
she
that's
came,
incredible.
she came into the booth just to check up and say thanks for projecting. So that was another moment of like, man, the hero of mine, they know how to thank a projectionist. And so she said, "Okay, it's going good. So I'm going to go to the library and just wait. Let me know when you're at the last reel." So I said, "Okay." And then I'm projecting. I'm at the last reel. I run out to the library is right across from the theater. And so I went over there and I said, "Agnes, the film is almost done." And she said, "On y va," which means let's go, you know, in French. And she walked over to the theater and I was like, wow, this is like a highlight of my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Very envious you got to meet
Oh,
her.
yeah. So she's one of my heroes. You might be able to see some of her influences in this film. I love the way also is a documentary filmmaker, but she weaves in like some playful animation and photographs, and there's that influence in my film. Chris Marker is another one that I really am inspired by. They all come from the same, they're both French, the same time period. Recently, I also, in terms of more recent filmmakers, Jafar Panahi is another one of my favorites. I got to see him in person when he came to LA just last month.
Lucky.
I went
Like
to a screening and yeah, amazing film, his last film, latest film. Yeah.
yeah, I can't wait to catch that.
Yeah.
Yeah, very special filmmaker. Not a
Yeah.
lot of people bring him up, so thank you for that.
Yeah. No, I love his works. I've been a constant like fan. I've been watching all his films. And you're talking to a person who actually, I don't watch many films, TV shows. I don't have a TV at home. You know, it's like, so when these people that I'm mentioning, these three artists, four, if you include Bud, I mean, I treat them like the highest, you know, they're my
Mm.
influences.
So you will absolutely stay in the documentary realm of features.
For now, for
Okay.
now. Yeah, that's what I'm interested in. I like capturing reality. I like capturing people, ordinary people. I like I like that. So,
A quick photography question then, because
yes.
I find I'm doing more portrait work, headshots, and the likes. And I think I'm finding my groove finally. No one's overly criticized my work or anything like that, but just personally, I'm sure you understand. Like you're like,
Mm,
ah, I could have done this different. I
mm,
could have done
mm,
that
mm,
differently.
mm,
So when you're shooting
mm,
photos, like
mm.
you capture them the same way, right? Very candid work, I imagine. Very street life. Is that how you approach it?
I mean, I really love your photos.
Oh,
I
thank you.
think, yeah, I mean, you definitely, and I think I even emailed you this, but I like photos that capture like the air of the moment.
Hmm.
And like the moment you see it, you can kind of hear the sounds of that place that you captured. And your photos have that. And so yeah, I think that's what I also like when I'm taking photos. I try to not, even though it's a still photograph, I try to capture the moment in its entirety, like the air of it. And even if it's just a person, you know, I try to build like something around it that has captures it. Um, but I probably should take more photos now. I haven't been. But it's something that I've started when I was 18, something I'll continue to do. But yeah, I don't think I have like a strong philosophy on photography as much as I have for film. It's more of an enjoyable, like, I love doing it, but it's not something I have to spend every day doing, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I completely understand.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'll be clear, I don't think I have a particularly deep philosophy about how I shoot either. I think I
Mm,
just like enjoy doing it a lot,
mm, mm,
and but also I'm trying to get out of my comfort zone. Like if I use a specific lens for too long, I'm like, I probably got that down for right now. Let me try a wider lens. Or
Right.
I've been shooting with the 25 this year, and I'm like, okay, like I probably need to go a little closer now, you know?
I'll
So,
I'll I'll say this. The thing that I like about photography is that um, it allows me to interact with strangers. And that's kind of how we met, actually. Like I went over to you with your film camera, and I think I even took a film portrait, right? Like
mhm.
I do that, and I write down people's numbers so that if it actually comes out nicely, I send it to them. So at Comic-Con, I took, I think, like 15 portraits, and I ended up sending it to all of them. And, they were surprised. A lot of them were like, "Who are you?" Because they forgot who shot their photo. But then when they see the film photo, they're all very thankful. But I like the fact that photography can still connect people like you and me, or even strangers in that moment of life. It's just a nice connection, a very human, random interaction that can happen through the medium of film.
Yeah, it's nice when those special little moments can just happen out in the world. It's like, oh
Mm.
yeah, this is kind of why we're here, This is
Yeah,
we're alive, I mean,
yeah.
and to wrap it up, like with Bud as well, with music,
Mm,
all these decades later, it's still connecting people, inspiring me after
mm,
getting to hear it and getting to know a little bit more about him.
mm,
So I want to thank you for that, and thank you for the opportunity for letting me speak to you about the film.
mm.
Um, anything you want to leave the people with at home?
No, I think this is feels very satisfying. I'll say that the film has been submitted to film festivals, so let's hope that it gets in somewhere. And from now till probably middle of next year, I'm going to just be waiting for good news. And then beyond that, I'll do more screenings, and, I'll share it with people, whoever's interested. You could go to budpal.com and get in touch with me. I have my email there, and, you can watch the previews and all the things that I posted.
Hey, Young Moon, thank you so much for your time. Everyone, yes, please, budlives.com. Go check it out. Go
Budpal.com.
budpowell.com. Sorry, whoops,
Mhm.
thank you for the correction.
Uh-huh.
Budpowell.com. Make sure you go to budpowell.com and then check out everything you can about Bud Lives while we wait to hear back from festivals and the eventual release of the film. Congratulations on the project, and I can't wait to see what else you do in the future.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.